Assalamualaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Welcome to the Sajdah Morning Coffee Talk, where we talk about life, love, and business. And today, we're going to have a discussion around money, psychology, psych ops, and deception. All right. The idea is for us to be able to recognize these things so that we can continue to do what is right and continue to be effective in our growth and development. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back in a couple of minutes. I'm going to show a few videos. Just be a friend and tell a friend, and we'll see you in a few.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
I have told you the first part of my life, I was a farmer in Georgia.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Nobody there was looking at me blind and you thought that I would ever be a scientist teaching the world.
Yes, sir.
See, it is time that brings all that.
alaikum, family. Welcome to the Sajdah channel. We are going to, inshallah, have a good time this morning. Let's see what's going on over here. All right. Welcome. Happy holidays, as they say. Happy Savior's Day. Happy Kwanzaa. And all the other holidays we celebrate. We welcome in a time of love, a time of reflection, a time of prayer, a time of spending time with family and loved ones. This time is important to many of us. And so we just want to wish you well in those endeavors of good. We hope that you help to redistribute the pain and you've been staying out of these stores this weekend, that you're shopping with your community this weekend, and giving gifts that matter. And it's not so much a political thing as it is a personal thing. Because personally, you want to give somebody a gift that has legs, that means something. Legs for you, legs for them, something that can expand their consciousness, something that they're going to love for a very long time, something that will impact somebody else. And there's nothing like buying a gift from a store where you know those dollars are recirculating into your community, but then also bringing joy and comfort to the person that receives the gift. And so it was just one more cycle, one more spin around the community that you are responsible for. Think about it like that. I think we get so caught up in the quote unquote politics of it. But I see politics as being very personal. You know, when I first started studying emotional intelligence, I literally stumbled upon the study of money psychology. And in that study of money psychology, I was fascinated. I was so fascinated because I had done all of this work around understanding my emotions, managing my emotions, controlling my emotions, using my emotions as a compass, enhancing my sensitivity, transferring my sensitivities into business skills and all this stuff. And then the money psychology piece just fell in my lap like a clunk of bricks. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so powerful. And I started teaching webinars on this. I have a whole coaching program on money psychology. So if you go to booksajdahwendymuhammad.com and you decide to book me, and I give you, and we do a session on money psychology, generally what I do is I'll give you one session, you'll pay for one session, and then I'll give you one for free at no charge, so that you get two for the price of one, just so that we can follow up and see how you're doing. I began doing lectures on it and even teaching my staff money psychology. And it became so important when I became an employer to help my team have a good sense of their money psychology and have management and control over the psychology behind their money. And so I started teaching people what psych ops is and the origin of it. And how did we get to this age of deception? And why are we so confused? And why do we use deceptive intelligence and convince ourselves that we're right, convince everybody else when we're right, and the entire time we're being manipulated and deceived into our belief system about money? Powerful stuff, you know. One of the things I want you to think about this morning is I want you to go back to your childhood and think about the theme around money, or the energy around money, or the emotions around money that you saw, witnessed, and participated in as a child. Did you have parents who were pimps and hustlers? And did that pimping and hustling formulate how you see money today? What's interesting about children is that children pick up little aspects of what we do, and then they magnify it in their lives. So was this something that was shown to you as a child that later formulated your thoughts around money? Were you around people who poor-mouthed? I don't mean that to insult you. I want you to understand what I mean. Were you around people who were always begging, or people who never wanted to work for anything, and anything that they ever got came from them asking somebody for it? And so they spent all their time finding crafty ways to ask somebody for something. Is that how you grew up? Did you grow up where your parents just didn't talk about money? There was no conversations about money. You never saw anybody pay any bills. You never saw anybody do anything. You just learned money from people you saw in the streets. Did you grow up around people who sold drugs? And you watched the fast money come in. You really don't have a healthy respect for working for something because you just saw fast money growing up. Did your parents just spoil you and make you feel entitled? So you feel like whatever you want, you should have it, and somebody need to give it to you. Did you grow up in a blue collar environment where you saw your parents working overtime, and you saw them build up to that class status where they were respected in the community? You weren't rich, but you're right there in the middle. Did you grow up around people who had small businesses, or somebody who had a small business? Were you impacted around that or by that? Did you grow up around people who were salespeople? Somebody who you knew ran a shop, or your parents ran a shop, and you saw them selling and catering to customers. And so you developed an attraction power. What was the theme in your life, or what impacted you the most about money? Now, here's the trick with that. When I ask you that question, you're combing your memory, right? Going through your database to see, what do you remember? And so those things we would take and we would write that on a piece of paper. But then there's the things that you don't remember, the things that we got to dissect through during your coaching session so we can figure out what created that blind spot that's preventing you from manifesting. Why are you so competitive when it comes to money? Why do you lie about money? Where'd that come from? Why do you feel like you got to get something for nothing? Where'd that come from? Where'd it come from where you felt like you were always poor, no matter how much money you got now? I know people like that. People who make well into the six figures, who have a poor mentality, a poverty consciousness that they operate with. And how does this affect the rest of your life? Then, on top of all of that, you have the layer of the psychological operations that's happening to each and every one of us. Because, psych ops used to be, still is, a military process, okay, where they would put out propaganda, say certain things to influence the crowd or the community and get them to give up their desire to fight so that they could win a war without even fighting it. So there's all these things. And then, there's psyops and mercenaries that happen in our lives all around us, where people are trying to deceive us and control us. Every time you turn on television, you turn on a television program, there is somebody trying to convince you of some concept, whether it's the type of couples they constantly put together, the type of love scenes that you see that are constantly put together. The government has a hand in movies. I don't know if you know that. They have a budget for film production. And there are films, you can look it up, where they have controlled the messaging. So you have to be very mindful of movies. I'm not one of these people that I usually only watch certain movies that people have already told me about, because I don't want to go through the psychological process of mining through every program to find a good one. I don't like the way it would manipulate my mind and take me off the program that I'm on. I learned during this study of money psychology is that that's where you get the blind spots from. You watch something and you're in a certain emotional state, and next thing you know, you're feeling it. You're trying to dress like that person. You're trying to be like that person. I'm going to show you guys a video. First, I think we're going to look at the one on psyops. I was going to do this the other way around, but I'm going to show you something. Let me find it here. Let's see. This one is going to be to help you understand what psychological operations are, how, and I want you to see from this video how it's applied in your life. So how, even under friendly fire, you picked up certain things growing up about money. And I want you to see how certain aspects of your education, certain ways in which you grew up, all of that has impacted who and what you are today. We're going to come back and talk about it, but let's just talk about the art of warfare, because that is what we're dealing with. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you could hear it.
Psychological warfare, also known as psywar, is the use of psychological tactics and methods to influence the perceptions, emotions, attitudes, and behaviors of an enemy. The aim of psychological warfare is to weaken the opponent's will to fight and ultimately defeat them without even resorting to military force. The methods used in psychological warfare can range from propaganda and misinformation to scare tactics and psychological manipulation. Despite being perceived as a contemporary development, psychological warfare actually has roots dating back to ancient times, with evidence of its use appearing in various civilizations, such as the Greeks, Romans, and Persians. In ancient Greece, the art of rhetoric was used as a form of psychological warfare, with orators using their skills to sway public opinion and influence decision-making. The famous Greek philosopher Aristotle wrote extensively on the subject, outlining the techniques and strategies that could be used to manipulate public opinion. In ancient Rome, psychological warfare was often used in military campaigns, with the goal of undermining the enemy's will to fight. Julius Caesar famously used psychological tactics, such as spreading false rumors about his strength and military prowess, to intimidate his opponents and secure victories on the battlefield. In the Persian Empire, psychological warfare was used in diplomacy, with ambassadors and emissaries using rhetoric and other persuasive techniques to gain advantages in negotiations and international relations. Fast forward to the 20th century, psychological warfare methods became crucial in military and political strategies, with both world wars serving as major theaters for the use of these methods. The use of propaganda and psychological operations was widespread during both world wars, with both sides using various media to shape public opinion and undermine enemy morale. The rise of mass media, such as newspapers, radio, and later television, made it possible to reach a large audience with a single message, and helped to further enhance the impact of psychological warfare. In the post-World War II era, psychological warfare continued to evolve, particularly during the Cold War. The US and the Soviet Union engaged in a battle for global influence and superiority, using various psychological methods, such as propaganda, disinformation, and psychological operations, to sway public opinion and undermine the adversary's political and military power. Psychological warfare methods are usually referred to as psychological operations, or PSYOPs, especially within the US military. Psychological operations specifically focus on the dissemination of information and ideas to influence the perceptions and attitudes of a target audience. As such, they can be overt or covert. Overt psychological operations are also known as white psychological operations. These involve the dissemination of truthful and transparent information. The goal of white PSYOPs is to build trust and credibility with the target audience, both domestically and internationally. This type of psychological operation is often used to communicate official government messages, such as updates on military operations or humanitarian aid information during conflict or disaster scenarios. White PSYOPs are distinguishable from other forms of psychological operations, as they do not involve any deceptive or misleading information and are intended to be open and transparent to the target audience. Covert psychological operations are often considered controversial due to their deceptive and untraceable nature. Gray PSYOPs use misinformation or partial truths to sow confusion and doubt, while black PSYOPs are used to discredit an adversary, using false propaganda or write-out misinformation. Operation Mockingbird was a notable example of the use of psychological operations by the US government during the Cold War. Launched by the Central Intelligence Agency in the 1950s, Operation Mockingbird aimed to influence and control media content in the US and around the world to promote favorable views of the government and its policies. The operation involved the recruitment of journalists, editors, and media executives who would then produce and disseminate information that was favorable to the government. Despite its controversial nature, Operation Mockingbird is considered one of the largest and most effective psychological operations in American history. In the 21st century, psychological warfare continues to be used in military and political contexts, with new technologies, such as social media and the internet, providing new tools for the dissemination of information and ideas. As global conflicts evolve and new technologies emerge, the role of psychological warfare is likely to remain a significant factor in shaping the outcome of future conflicts. What do you think?
I wanted you to take a look at that because I want you to see how let's start here, a lot of larger companies who have the means and the finances are employing advertising agencies or have in-house advertising and marketing, okay? Where they put this type of messaging together and then send this same type of process that the government uses in warfare domestically as well. And they put it into their advertising to get you and I to go and spend all of our money. To me, designer brands are some of the best at using psych ops to get us to believe that this cheap leather item with somebody's initials on it is worth $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000. And that we feel better about ourselves if we have purchased something that has those initials on it. Ooh, thank you, Mrs. Phoenix, for the super chat. Appreciate you very much. Thank you so much. Shout out to you. She says, Assalamu alaikum from Detroit, Michigan. Wa alaikum salam from the number one mosque number one. Welcome, welcome. Anyway, let's get back to it. Thinking about Detroit now. Very, very meaningful place in our nation. even in bringing in Detroit, and I think back to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the early believers who were arrested and jailed for independently educating Black children. Again, propaganda and psych ops used, threats to arrest them, just general threats, threatening to take away the children. All of these psychological things they overcame to establish what we know today as Muhammad University of Islam, but also independent education, charter schools, all of that. There was no separate independent education for Black children allowed during those days. So a lot of people don't understand that during slavery, if you were allowed to go to school and read, obviously you were going to the Black school or the plantation school. Then there became, during Reconstruction, the establishment of Black colleges and many of our Black sororities and fraternities. And so that educational push began. But on the primary level with elementary students, there was not a lot of, or there wasn't any independent educational systems that were impacting the community. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we want a different kind of education. We want an education that empowers us. We want an education that teaches us and that includes our religion, but teaches us to do for self. We need a different type of education. There were also school environments that were an issue, right? With boys and girls and many people being assaulted and having their first experiences sexually in classrooms and around school settings. So reducing some of that. And you can only imagine the psychological operations that were used, like the ones we just saw in the video, to get them to not do it. Think about the Black Panther Party. A lot of you all may be physicians and clinicians out there. I know for myself, I worked independently in healthcare as a Black part owner of a hospital and clinics and wellness centers. Do you know that concept came from the Black Panther Party? Because prior to that, when we would go to hospitals and have to be in the Black section or have to get discriminated, and the neglect that was happening, especially with our children who got sick, they did all this research on sickle cell anemia, and look at the psychological operation that was orchestrated around the Black Panther Party. But yet the knowledge and the basis of it was taken away. So the free lunch program, they still do that. Medicaid, within the Medicaid programs in a lot of states is a lot of the same programs that the Black Panther Party had. Even down to the neighborhood clinic, the community clinics. So when we were building surgery centers and owned by Black people and clinics, we had the Black Panthers to thank for that. To the point where when we built the new facility, we put a painting, we put a museum in there, but in the little museum, the art gallery, if you will, there's a painting that is an ode to the Black Panther Party, who is primarily responsible for independent healthcare in this country to this day, especially for Black people. So what does all of this mean? I'll give you, well, that's probably not, anyway, I'll say it this way. This is what it means. When we are moving about our day, there are people out here now, especially with technology, companies, organizations. I'm not even talking about individuals who are trying to influence you and get you to do certain things. But there are people who understand this type of warfare, who are forcing you and I, encouraging you and I, welcoming you and I, and rewarding us for engaging in certain behaviors, because they know that once they get you to engage in certain behaviors and believe certain things, now there's a deviation from your morality or for what is right and exact, the math is off. And so now there's an opportunity to control you. And since you and your subconscious mind, excuse me, know that the math is off, you start to feel guilty. You start to feel depressed. You start to willingly give away your rights, and that allows someone to then come in and win the war over you. Why? Because you've given up your desire and even your ability to fight because you're so far out of balance. So this is what happens to us when we grow up and we have our family members or people around us who have been influenced by certain psyops that make them think of money a certain way. Some of our parents still had a slave's mentality when it came to money. Some people are so emotional over money that it just burns a hole in their pocket. They don't know what to do with themselves. Some of us are so emotional over money that we get depressed if we don't have any, or the thought of money leaving us or losing it bothers us. But then some people who have very healthy views of money know that there's ebbs and flows, and it goes and comes, and it has to flow and it has to move in order for it to have value. So money has no value unless it's moving. And so people who understand how to play that game have that in their subconscious, and they know how to navigate a business world where money is flowing. Sometimes it's very difficult for us because our money psychology is so bad. All we heard growing up was money don't grow on trees. And so we're misers. We call it frugal. We're stingy. We're petty. Where does that stinginess and where does that pettiness come from? And what I started to learn to do as when I'm coaching is to pay attention to body language. Even if we go out to dinner and I'm watching you when the check comes, I'm watching you when we're talking about prices of food on the menu. I'm watching you at the cash register only because I'm paying attention to money psychology so that I can bring that data back to you. And so I watch people in those situations. If I'm in the grocery store, I'm watching people's body language as they shop, as they look at things, as they're in the checkout line. What are they doing? And I'll say this to you. I was talking about this yesterday. One of the things that I've learned to do over the years, which has been a blessing and a curse, is to remove myself from the situation. And so when I'm coaching or consulting, I'm not there. This sovereignty of a person is not there. I'm just there bringing you data and information that's either being downloaded to me or that I've learned from somewhere else through observation and things that I'm blessed to see. I'm bringing that to you and trying my best to bring it to you in an unfiltered way so that you have the data that you need. And I'm not, in essence, trying to use a psych op to manipulate you. See, oftentimes when you hire an attorney, they have their view on what you should do. And they're using the data and the information that they have that may be facts about the situation to influence you to do certain things. That happens with lawyers, it happens with coaches, it happens with psychologists, even doctors. They want you to take a certain medicine and they're using the data that they have to guide you and kind of force you to maybe the one option that they give you. So maybe saying, well, okay, let's try this nutritionally. Let's try this another way. Let's try a natural way. Do you need intervention? Are you too late for natural? A lot of that doesn't happen. What happens is there's a whole propaganda and a psyops around trying to get you to do what they want you to do. Now, here's the trick. when every time a person is trying to deceive you, doesn't mean you can't get good information out of it. I'm going to say that again. Every time you detect that a person is trying to deceive you, doesn't mean that you can't get good information out of it. I want you to let that sink in for a minute. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because here's the thing. There we go. I want to make sure that got. Here's the thing. If you put yourself in a position, because we are in a world of deceit, we're honeycombed with deceit. Some of it is got good intention, and some of it's got bad intention. Some of us are, the way we love is deceitful. And so we give and take and turn up the heat or turn down the heat on our love and attention based on what we want the object of that attention to either do for us or how much we want to control them. But whatever it is we want them to do, we are using psych ops to try to get them to do it. That's how a lot of us love. It's not unconditional love. It's as long as you are doing A, B, C, and D, X, Y, Z, or it's as long as I am getting certain things. And so when we're doling out or dishing out whatever is of value to that person, we are giving it and dishing it out with that intention in mind. So how does that play into our money psychology today? And why does that make it difficult for us in many cases to manifest? Partly because we don't have a personal agenda. We don't have anything that we are impassioned about that is greater than ourselves. We're just kind of going along based on what we see in the news, what we see on this movie show, whatever we see, we're just kind of going along. And then we have this false definition of safety where we think we're being safe. And so I can only do this much. And everything that we're doing is couching and tethering to see if we're going to be safe in doing it. But a lot of times it's a false definition or a false boundary. And so now we're operating with all this fear. And we don't realize that because it's a false boundary, it's being shortened and lengthened based on whatever influences we subject ourselves to. We watch a movie and then the rope tightens. We get jealous of somebody else and try to compete against them, and then we lose it. We want a longer leash. And so we're being manipulated by all this external stimuli. We have no constant belief system in our mind or in our lives. And then when we get those constant belief systems, we have to then, because we're living in a world of deception, we have to then continue to create and recreate ways in which to live by those systems. Why? Because somebody's always chipping away at it. You got people who will come right in. You saw the video I showed where there are certain psychological operations where they're very transparent. And they'll come in and come around you and be very transparent and say, hey, you see companies doing this. Hey, we filed for bankruptcy. We had these problems. We had a breach in security. That transparency is usually a psychological tactic. And there's something that they believe that they're either going to gain or avert by being transparent. So you know how when they breach your information, they send you a note and they say, hey guys, we sorry, our computers were hacked and your information got out. There's a reason why they get that PR out there early. They want to get ahead of the story. What happens to us in our lives and in our families? Did you hear somebody saying all the time, money don't grow on trees? How did that How did that psychological operation, although well-intended, right? Our parents and grandparents did the best they knew to do, well-intended, but it's still a psych op. And how did it impact your ability to manifest today? When they say money don't go on trees, do you have a hard time earning money because you can't let go of money? Are you worried about your safety all the time because that psychological programming is playing in your brain? And so we will talk about those kind of things during the coaching session. And I was dealing with somebody the other day. We were working through something and they were having challenges around anytime a problem came up in their business, they would just shut down. And one of the philosophies that I have, and I know my business partner, Dr. Dormo in Maryland, my former business partner, he and I used to exchange this concept amongst one another, because in the work that we was doing, there was always constant problems. And every problem is just a math problem. And we would both go, we both good at math, right? But we can figure this out. And if you say to yourself, well, no, I'm not that good at math, so it's a math problem, I'm really in trouble. You solve math problems all day long. So every problem that comes up in your life, it's just a math problem. So you just want to figure out how to mathematically solve it. The math just got to be mathing. If you're in a situation where you say, I'm spending way more money than what I'm bringing in, that's a math problem, right? So now you got to add more than you're subtracting. Your number that you're adding to what you have has to be bigger than the number that you're subtracting and taking away. All right. I think y'all get the concept on this. I have one more video for us. And this is a video that I want to use to help raise our awareness around the level of deception that is going on around us. It is called The Art of Deception. And it's a very, very, very powerful video that I just want you to pay attention to. So as you're working to unravel your money psychology, like where did these belief systems come from? What's there? What am I afraid of? What did I see? Did you grow up in a household where people could never pay all their bills, or they just never paid them? They just never paid a bill, and you didn't see anybody paying any bills. Y'all never talked about money. And so now you're struggling both to manage the money you have and to manifest. I also want to recommend to you to go on this channel back through the manifestation series. We did a 15-week series on the art of manifestation, okay, based upon the book, The Master Key System. So go back and look at that. I encourage you to go back and look at that. You can book me at booksajdahwendymuhammad.com if you want to book a coaching session or a consulting session for your business. You can do that. That's a great gift to give to somebody, an entrepreneur that you know. But check out this video. It's about 5 or 6 minutes. And I want you to just sit back and pay attention and give me a thumbs up if you can hear and see it okay. I'm going to play this.
There is something rising in our societies, and we could say that we are entering into a period of the forerunners of Dajjal. Well, iyadhu billah. Rawad Dajjal. And the Dajjal, the Antichrist, has been described as a trickster, a deceiver, a master deceiver, a fraud, one who makes fake news. And we are entering into this age of the deceivers, and we wonder, what would the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam say about these times that we are living in now? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us there will come upon the people years of deceit, in which the liar will be believed and the truthful person will be considered a liar. The treacherous deceiver will be trusted, and the trustworthy custodian will be considered disloyal. And the ruwaybida would speak out. The most despicable, worthless person would speak out on behalf of the masses of the people. This age has come. The age of deception, the age of illusions, illusion of freedom, illusion of peace, illusion of equality, democratically elected leaders being taken down in front of the world and put into prison and killed in front of the eyes of the world. Native populations who lived right here for over 20,000 years are still living in poverty. Their women are being taken away, raped, murdered in front of the eyes of the people. Special groups of leaders making decisions behind closed doors and saying the opposite in the public. And the few good leaders feel like they are surrounded. They feel like every word that they say is being monitored and they could be attacked. So this is the age of the worst of people. And as believers, we take comfort in the fact that Rasulullah ﷺ spoke about this, and he told us, you will find amongst the worst of people on the day of resurrection is the two-faced person. The one who comes to one group with one face and another group with another face. In times of justice, the truth has power to it. If a person is true, it should be recognized. And that is what you could call quwwatul haqq. Two words, quwwa and haqq. The person with the truth should be recognized. But the reality is, turn the two words around. Not quwwatul haqq, haqqal quwwa. And haqqal quwwa is might makes right. So whether the person is right or wrong, if they have the strength, then they are right. This is a deception. And we as believers need to find ourselves in this time. Because it's no longer the time where we can roll over as Muslims and hide and beg for our freedom. These times have ended now. And the Prophet ﷺ spoke about this. We ultimately believe that the ultimate quwwah is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No authority, no power except with Allah. That verily all power ultimately is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Prophet ﷺ said something for us. He said that a strong believer is better and more beloved by Allah than a weak believer. But in both of them, there is good. And so on our level, at least, we can strive our best. And this strength, the Prophet ﷺ spoke about the strength, because when most people think about strength, they think about the fist or the gun or the bomb. The Prophet ﷺ said the strong person is not the good wrestler, but the strong person is the one who controls himself when he's angry. So our strength needs to be the strength of our character, the strength of our spirituality, and the strength that we need, strength of the mind. So let us try to nurture in our youth to be strong in everything they do. Strong students in school, strong at work, strong in any task that we are doing. And our unity gives us strength. This is a time for us. This is a time. It's a test. It has happened historically in the past. And we are coming to the ultimate test. We are coming to the age of the ultimate deceiver. And so we need to gear ourselves to this, to take up the task, even the small things like being consistent in our prayers, small things like not letting haram things come into our mouth, small things like making sure that we are giving to our organizations, small things like reaching out to people in this society, non-Muslims, showing them what Islam really is. And if we see injustice happening to somebody who is not a Muslim, then we feel that this injustice has also happened to us. We need to support our leaders, support our leaders while they are alive and not while they have passed away. Even if it was just a prayer, any way of support. The Prophet ﷺ has told us, none of you will truly believe until his desires, until his enjoyment, until his playing follows what I have brought him. So even while we enjoy ourselves in an Islamic way. We need to pray to Allah Azza wa Jal, especially for wisdom. Hikmah, putting things in the proper place. I leave you with some of the wisdom of one of our great leaders, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. And it is reported in translation that he has said, fear Allah, for he alone lives. All other things will perish. Be dignified, honest, and truthful. And he said, radiallahu anhu, trust is that there should be no difference between what you do and what you say and what you think. He also said, do not be misled by hearing of someone's reputation. He also said, radiallahu anhu, do not depend upon the morality of a person until you have seen him behave while he's angry. Remember what the strong person is that the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who controls himself when he's angry. That's the strong person. That's the one that we need to follow and we need to respect.
Whew, alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah. All right. That's our talk about money psychology and really just kind of dissecting deception a little bit so that we can understand how psychops works. You're going to have to study yourself a little bit more, because once you understand who you are, you understand what your triggers are and how you can be manipulated. And there's so much out there that it can be a full-time job. But then the other side of it is having goals, having worthy goals, having something that you focus on, that you want to do, that's important, that requires discipline, requires some level of change. That's going to be helpful, helping you to navigate through those psychops, because oftentimes those things are going to require you to do something that you haven't already done, require you to do something different. The other piece of it is living your life based on certain principles. Living your life based upon wanting for your brother or sister what you want for yourself. Accepting your own, being yourself. First, loving yourself. Understanding what's real and what's not real. You got to create a base for yourself. For many of us, that base is a religious base. I'm a Muslim, and that's my foundation. Some people are Christians, some people are Buddhists, some people use religion as their foundation or base. I guarantee you that whatever you use, whether it's religion or maybe the principles from some other organization that you're in, you're going to find a commonality among the organizations. You're going to find a commonality among the religions. And it is around these common things that we have in common, that we have to begin to unite. We heard that theme a lot tonight. Unity. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said our unity is more powerful than an atom or a nuclear bomb. When that bomb explodes, it just spreads. And so that unity is just spreading so much of that beautiful, delicious energy all over, even if there's just a few of us that unite. But uniting with people who don't look like us or believe like us or live near us or have just major differences from us, and uniting around certain common goals is where we have to start. See, part of our problem when we're trying to unite, we try to unite on the stuff that we already know we disagree with. We may have that one thing in this column over here that we disagree with, but we may have 50 things that we have in common, or we may have common goals among our organization or common principles among our organizations. But we don't focus on the commonalities. We focus on those big differences. And so I'm saying, let's just switch that psychology around too. Because see, when we're focused on those big differences, personally, I think it's a lot easier to manipulate us. It's a lot easier to manipulate the masses when you know that people are sitting in their homes as rugged individuals because they are so focused on the big things that they disagree with other people about that they don't trust nobody. But if we come over here and say we're going to focus on what we have in common, let's focus on the commonalities in our lifestyles, the commonalities in our organizations, the principles in our religion, whatever it is, let's unite around that common thing. You can also unite around a common problem. If police brutality is a problem in your community, you can all unite around that problem for that purpose of creating a strategy to eradicate police brutality. If you live in a food desert or if there's bad water, we can all unite around the condition of the water or the storm damage. We can all unite around that, regardless of what we look like or believe. We can all unite around that common problem. So what you want to do is find the commonality as a leader in your organization and get people to unite around that. As an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a CEO, as a president, what's the common goals that we all have in mind? It may just be, look, we all want to get paid. Let's start there. And then let's figure out how we can build other commonalities that can anchor us to one another and anchor us to a reality, and our goals become our reality. Anchor us to that reality so we're not so easily deceived by everything that somebody else says and every commercial and every other, thing we're looking at. All right, family, let me see who we got in the chat here before we go. Let me shout y'all out. I'm sorry, I had a lot to get off today, so let me go back. Hey, I see Marvelous Marva's here. Uh-oh. I thought I saw a comment from you. Okay, I see you. All right. Yep, I see Marvelous Marva. She says, Assalamu alaikum, and we say wa alaikum salam. Happy Saturday, Sister Betty. I see Aya Solutions is in the house. Wa alaikum salam. And we are so grateful for you as well. Okay. Grateful. Aya Solutions says, Assalamu alaikum and great Saturday. I'm so grateful and thankful to make our show live and in real time this morning. Praise be to Allah. Thank you. Aya Solutions also says, I am so grateful to be live. Love it all. Okay, so that's Sister Monica. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Monica. Regional Sky Girl is rolling around the sky or soaring through the sky somewhere. She says ASA, that's acronym for Assalamu alaikum. All one more day of flying and then 3 weeks vacation. I pray that everyone is blessed and well. Look, send us some of that vacation energy, Regional Sky Girl. Good morning, Mom. Happy Saturday. Who else we got here? Okay, Sister Regional Sky Girl was giving great feedback on what she saw in her family growing up and watching her father paying bills. So read that comment. Sometimes that will help you trigger some of your money memories. And let me tell you something that's so beautiful about the way your mind and heart works. If you allow it, as soon as you see a problem, did you know that the solution automatically comes to you? That's why they say God wouldn't put anything on you that you can't bear. The solution's already there. It's just that a lot of times when we think about what all we got to go through to get to the solution, we're like, it got to be another way. And so we waste time trying to find another way to do it or trying to avoid the difficulties that are between us and the solution, all of that. But soon as your subconscious mind sees and hears the problem, take a look at it in your mind's eye and you can automatically come up with a solution. And if not, I'm happy to help because sometimes we get in kind of a loop. We help you get out of that loop. Let's see. I see you, Brother Lamont. Brother Lamont says, good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Happy Saturday. We say good morning. Wa alaikum salam and happy Saturday to you as well. All right, family. Tune in Monday morning at 6 a.m. I'm going to have a very special show. It's going to be a Sajdah House sponsorship show. I'm going to walk through and explain the sponsorships, have some conversations around how important the sponsorship is. So we're prepping for that. That's going to be 6 a.m. I'm planning on doing that live from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. So come on over there with me inside virtually. Y'all ain't got to get out the house. It's like 19 degrees right now in Chicago. Did y'all know that? Don't get out the bed. Don't go nowhere. I'll do it. I'll go over there, do the broadcast, and let you all see some of the great things that we have going on with the sponsorship opportunities. So once in a lifetime thing. So we're just going to have some fun. And so tune into that. And then let's see, then we'll do coffee talks Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. What y'all think about that? All right. Peace and blessings, family. I love you all. Stay close to social media. Make sure you join the mailing list at sajdahhouse.com. We're going to be announcing our upcoming tour schedule and some of the things that we got coming up. Make sure that you use the QR code and shop black, and use that QR code right there and visit our virtual gift shop. All right. Okay. I don't think I got anything else for y'all. I'll see y'all Monday. All right. See you Monday, bright and early. Assalamu alaikum.
Number one, we want freedom. We want a full and complete freedom. Number two, we want justice, equal justice under the law of justice. We want justice applied equally to all, regardless of creed or class or color. Third, we want equality of opportunity. We want equal membership in a good society, a society of righteousness, a society of civilized people who believe in peace, who believe and practice peace and kindness.